It's October, so you know what that means. Fall book recs. It's time for autumn. I have that itch and I have a bunch of book recs to give you guys. But I also have a whole like book cart full of books that I want to read this autumn that I haven't read yet, so I can't recommend them. But if you would like a video where I talk about all the books that I want to get to this autumn that give off autumn vibes for me, then leave a like, leave a comment, and I will make one of those as well. So let's jump right into it. Hello my loves, if you're new here, my name is Lily. I am an anxious girl who loves to read, and if you're not new here, then welcome back. Let's get to some autumn book recs. Apparently I hadn't charged my camera, so the setup might look a little bit different now because I had to wait for it to charge and I did some other stuff whilst I did that. But now it's finally charged, now I can do this. Oh, and I have my glasses on. We'll be kicking this off with our first pile, which is the witchy pile, because you can't do autumn book recs without witchy books. And the first one is one that I've read the most recently, and that is Bewitched. Now the second book is on its way to me to be delivered because I just need to read that this fall. I think I read this a couple of months ago. I remember that I read this for a reading vlog. It was one of my first reading vlogs, I think, so it must be like 6 months ago or something. And even though I have confusing feelings about this, but I am still going to recommend it because it is still a really good book. The magic system is amazing. I love the FMCs. She, like, her magic is so, like, it's unlike anything that I have ever read. It's set in an academy for young witches that our main character Celine desperately wants to get into. But because of the way her magic works, the coven doesn't want to let her into the academy because they deem it too dangerous. But they give her an ultimatum where it's like, go on a magical adventure and write an amazing essay about it, and also find your familiar, which is like an impossible task, and we'll let you into the coven. So drunk and upset, Celine books a magical journey, and that sets off this book because a lot of stuff happens on that journey, and she like accidentally releases an evil spirit person type of thing that also likes to call her his queen because according to him she's someone else than who she actually knows herself to be. So it was just, there was a lot of mystery, a lot of drama. Personally, I rooted for a different guy because there is like a hint of a love triangle without it being a full-blown love triangle. But there's a werewolf in this that I love and that I wanted her to end up with because the MMC is definitely not morally white. I can't do this video and talk about witchy books without recommending The Crimson Moth. I absolutely devoured this first book. It is so good. So set in the like, what is it, 1800s? It's been a while since I read this. We're set in a like Victorian era where witches are being hunted by this group of people who are now in control, and our main character hides the fact that she's a witch while also under disguise tries to save other witches, and she sort of kind of gets involved with the most dangerous witch hunter of them all, whose name is Gideon. And if you watch my videos, you know that I am obsessed with the name Gideon. This is enchanting and deeply romantic, and it just draws you in. Like, the world building is so beautiful that it just draws you into it. I love anything where it doesn't play out in modern times and it's not like a fantasy world, but it's kind of historical romance, witchy fiction. And it just speaks to me. It speaks to my heart. It's so good. I suck at recommending books. Now, next we have Bonecryer's Moon, which I will admit, it's been like 3 years since I read this one. So we have our main characters. If I remember correctly, this is multiple POVs. Apart from the cover being beautiful, we have Bonecryers whose sacred duty is to protect the dead. And bone criers, when they come of a certain age, need to play a song to lure in the love of their lives, only to kill him. But Bastian's dad was killed by a bone crier, so he is out to hunt them and kill them to take revenge. But Bastian is too late, and Elise's ritual to become a bone crier has already begun, and now they are intertwined. And Sabine has never had the stomach for being a bone crier, but she will do whatever it takes to get Elise back after Elise has been kidnapped. So that is basically the blurb of this book. This is just magical. Like, that's the only word I have for it. I loved every single page of this. I love when we have a multiple POV. I love when it's, you know, torn between duty and heart, and also like revenge, and we despise each other. We are like natural enemies, but then there's also something about you, you know? So Emilia and Victoria in the Kingdom of the Wicked are witches who live amongst humans in secret, or like in hiding, and they keep their head down. They work in their like family's restaurant, which is also like really cozy. A very cozy aspect of this book that I personally love. I know that not a lot of people don't love that aspect of it, but I think that's really sweet. One night Victoria doesn't come home, and Emilia finds out that her sister has been murdered, and so she vows to find out who did this, to solve this murder. And in doing so, she accidentally summons a demon prince from hell whose name is Wrath. It might be controversial to say that I love this, but I genuinely love Kerri Maniscalco's books. She has written some of the best romance books ever in her other series, which I will recommend later in a different book pile. But Kingdom of the Wicked is like the perfect mix of demon, witches, magic, mystery. I will always love a book where you have to solve a murder, but there are so many twists and turns in this, and then there's also that sizzling tension between the FMC and the MMC that we all love. So this is definitely a more like higher stakes fantasy witchy romance. And last but not least, we have the OG witch and witch hunter romance, and that is Serpent and Dove. You cannot do a witchy book recommendation without recommending Serpent and Dove. Now, I have heard people who do not like this book. I have heard people who are absolutely obsessed with this book. I fall more into the latter category. I absolutely loved this the first time I read it. Now again, this was early book talk, an early book talk read for me, and it is definitely time for a reread. And I annotated it, and as you can see, it was in my early annotation era before I had figured out how to actually annotate books. But if you, I'm gonna say, if you liked oh my god, what's the name of that book? Blood of Ash, Ash and Bone. What's it called? From Blood and Ash. Jesus, this is going well. If you liked the like humorous aspects of From Blood and Ash, this definitely has that. Like, this was the perfect balance of like amazing friendships that are so hilarious, and also a really like grotesque world, because again, witches are being hunted and they are being burned at the stake, and it is absolutely disgusting. But the magic in this is, again, like Bewitched, a really, or at least for me, like a new and fresh take on magic and magic wielding. And there are different sorts of witches, some with blood magic and some with other kinds of magic. And our main character, who is a witch but of course hides that fact, finds herself not just engaged but married to a witch hunter who, you know, the people around him and him himself would definitely tie her up and burn her at the stake if they found out exactly who she is. I love the magic in this. I love the MMC. I definitely think Reed Diggory is an underrated book MMC or book boyfriend. It has the perfect balance of magic and darkness and humor and found family and like intrigue, and again the aspect of being torn between duty and your heart, and just that internal struggle is something that I love, and this does that perfectly. Our next pile is Vampires, Werewolves and Fae, which is 3 of my favorite magical beings, apart from witches, of course. And we're actually gonna start with a book that I listened to, but I have read this, I think it's a trilogy, twice, but I listened to it twice, and that is Shift Awards. I'm gonna put it up here somewhere. Shifter Wars is a werewolf romance, but it's not like... I've read many a werewolf romance searching for the type of werewolf romance that the Shifter Wars is, and it's more difficult to find than you think, because a lot of werewolf romances, I personally think, fall into more like cringy, it's too growly, a bit too possessive, a bit too much wolfiness for me. I want the perfect balance between humans and werewolves vibe, and Shifter Wars definitely delivered that. Not only that, it's also hilarious. So our FMC mother has died and has left her daughter in an insane amount of debt. So she also finds out that her mother came from like a valley that she never knew about. So she decides to go there and find the family that she never knew that her mother had. So she goes there, and I think she meets her grandfather, but he has a daughter who looks exactly like her. So when she comes to this valley, she is immediately thrown into what seems to be like a paintball game, because they mistake her for her cousin, which must make this man her uncle. She is trying to orient herself in this new family that she has found from nowhere, and wanting to find out more about her lost mother. And at the same time, she also finds out that there's a rivalry between her family and a different family that lives on the same ground, and they play kind of a paintball game once a month, I believe it is, and whoever loses the area in which they played in that area of the valley. So they basically play for ownership of the valley. So there's a lot at stake. But then she also kind of finds out that they are werewolves, and the leader of their, what turns out to be a pack, has kind of got his hackles up for her, and things kind of snowball from there. This is the best werewolf romance that I have ever read, like straight up. It is absolutely incredible. So if you're ever gonna take a werewolf rep from me, Shifter Wars is it. One of my favorite authors ever, Ali Hazelwood's Bride. Hello? Ali Hazelwood's Bride. I never doubted that Ali Hazelwood could write whatever she wants to write. I was, however, a little bit surprised that she was gonna write a vampire werewolf romance, because it's so different from anything she has done ever before. But she delivered. Oh, she did deliver. Like, I can't wait for the next book, which comes out in October, I believe. So it's definitely the time to pick it up so that you can immediately jump into the second one. Our FMC is a vampire, our MMC is a werewolf. So it's a marriage of convenience where our main character, Misery, is married off to the alpha of the vampire pack, of the werewolf pack, sorry, to keep the peace between the vampires and the werewolves, and things escalate. Like, you know that like microtrope where she ends up on his side of things and kind of finds out that what they've been told all their lives about his people are not necessarily true, and it becomes kind of a found family thing. That is this, and I absolutely eat it up. Like, Ali Hazelwood never fails. This is so good. Next up we have a vampire wreck, which is My Roommate is a Vampire, and I just received the second book. There's a fly in here somewhere. That I really want to read this autumn, because I believe I read this last autumn. And if you want a vampire romantic comedy, which are 3 words that I never thought I'd say together, this is it. This was hilarious, funny, giggling, kicking your feet, but with a tension-filled romance, and just the aspect of having a vampire in modern times trying to figure out how to act and behave like a human, and she has to teach him that. That just had me sold immediately. It is so funny. So if you want something autumn vibes but a bit more light-hearted and not so grotesque and gory like a lot of stuff is, this is definitely it. Next up we have fae, demons, vampires, angels, even werewolves, I believe. And that is one of the best OG fantasy series ever. This is a 6-star series and I read it so many times, and that is the Infernal Devices trilogy by Cassandra Clare. I was not a huge fan of the Mortal Instruments, and then I picked this trilogy up and oh my god, this is an emotional roller coaster. This will have you so invested. It is the best love triangle ever written, no doubt about it. It is absolutely incredible. Like, Will, Jem and Tessa, 3 of my favorite characters ever. And if you want like academic vibes, but at the same time it's very much, you know, mystery, demons, angels. They are literally demon hunters with angel blood in them. And then we have Tessa, who ends up in this world because she was lured into it based on a lie, and everything seems to be surrounding her, but no one knows exactly what she is, why she's ended up where she has. And it's just so good. I don't want to say too much because it's better to go into this like blind, but this is some of the best book quotes in it ever, where they are talking about books and about how words have the power to change us. And we have an MMC who is really tortured, who believes he's cursed, and therefore it's just a sad, broody, like he's the OG sad, broody boy, and he is so sweet. And then we have the kind, gentle, violin playing boy who's just the absolute sweetest, and Tessa's in the middle of the two of them. A place where I would love to be. I will never not love this and never not want to reread this. And then we have A Fey Wreck, which is also from OG Book Talk, if not the OG Book Talk book. And that is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. Now, I feel like this got a bad rep because it was recommended under the wrong genre. This is not a love story, but at the same time it is one of the best love stories ever. Love story is definitely a subplot. It is definitely more about family and lies and survival and revenge and just the inner workings of the main characters and the political aspects of a fairy world. This is more traditional fairies as well, where they are, you know, cruel, hence the title. Gio Duarte is one of the best FMCs ever, and Card Greenbrier. Now, some people hate the tale, some people love the tale. Again, I fall into the latter category. Give me more MMCs with tales who are secretly pining in pain, like torturous yearning and pining for a woman that they should despise. Our next pile is Gothic vibe books, and I'm gonna try to be better at recommending these, but I don't want to say too much because you don't want to spoil too much, but then you want to say just enough. But I just can't find the words a lot of the time. I desperately need more books in this world, especially after the second book that came out this year or last year, I think, and that is Phantasma and Enchantra. I love Phantasma. This was so good. Like, if you like games and deals and mysteries and intrigues and a story that just builds and builds and builds until it's turned on its head, Phantasma definitely gives that. And then we have Enchantra, which was even better in my opinion. I was invested in this. I was obsessed in this. This world devoured me, and the FMC was someone that I could really relate to and see myself in, and I absolutely adored her. And she just, wrong place at the wrong time, but then she just had to roll with it, and she did. And the MMC in this one had a bunch of brothers who had to play a game because they were stuck after their father had made a deal with someone he shouldn't have. Enchantra is a twisted labyrinth where Rowan, who is our MMC's family, is stuck in a twisted and deadly game because of a deal that the father made. And Genevieve, who has recently lost her mother, whose sister plays in Phantasma, which is a different game, but I'm gonna more talk about Enchantra because I love that one more. Genevieve gets an invitation to Enchantra and she travels there on the expectations that she can find out more about her mother, because that was basically what the invitation said. But she arrives just when this twisted and deadly game is about to begin, and she is locked into it, having to pretend to be engaged with Rowan in order to survive. So she is a human amongst basically demons who are playing a game, demon brothers who are playing a game where they have to kill each other, but they don't actually die. They are just sent to hell where they have to live until the next game. And whoever wins gets to be free from hell until the next game. And they all desperately want to be free. But she's a human. And if she dies, she's not going to come back. So the stakes are definitely high in both of these books because they are both deadly twisted games that play out. But what I loved about this, because I was a bit skeptical going into Enchantra after reading Phantasma, because I was like, we're doing another game, is it gonna be the same thing? Is it, you know, is it just gonna be too similar? No, absolutely not. Like, they're two completely different games, and I love the way that both of these games were really imaginative and just new. I've never read anything like this. Like, I love games and trials, but I've never read anything like this, especially in Enchantra. You know, we can't talk Gothic books without talking Rachel Gillig. This duology, One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns. Now, it's not my favourite of Rachel Gillig's. You can see my pyjama bottoms because I'm only dressed on the top half. However, the magic system and the Gothic vibes are unmatched. Like, tarot cards, magic, it was really new, it was really inventive, and that's really all I can say about this, because as I said, they're really good books. It's a great duology. It's not my personal favourite, but I definitely recommend this if you want a Gothic full vibes book. Like, this has unmatched autumn vibes. And controversial, but I like the first book better than the second book, because I like the first FMC who has this like demon in her head, and the MMC better than I like the FMC and MMC in the second book. But that is just my personal opinion. Talking Gothic vibes and Rachel Gillig, my absolute favourite book of hers, which is 5 stars, 6 stars, all the stars. I have not stopped thinking about this since the day I finished it. The Knight and the Moth. We have a gargoyle who is the best character ever. I need the second book, like, desperately. And we also have, again, unmatched, like, journeying, tension, banter. It is so good. And also the world building and the magic system and just the whole FMC's, like, what she is and how she came to be is unmatched. This is so good. It's kind of like a treasure hunt at the same time, but the stakes are a hell of a lot higher than they are in a normal treasure hunt, because it's like a magical treasure hunt. It's the best Gothic fantasy romance ever. And I'm not gonna say much more because, again, it's better going into it not knowing, like, anything. But the gargoyle is the best character to ever exist, like, ever. Our next pile was originally the mystery pile, but then I added a couple of other books that aren't necessarily mystery books. So this is our mystery / romance pile, and we're gonna start with a reverse harem, actually, which is, for some, others hate it. I love a good reverse harem. It's definitely not for everyone, but that is the Madison Kate series by Tate James, and I do have the books on my shelf, but the first book is the lowest in the pile and there are 8 books over it, and I just couldn't be bothered to move all of those books. So I'm gonna put it in here. I bought the books when they didn't have discreet covers. They have received discreet covers now, so I have the books with our people on the front, bare-chested and half naked, and to each their own. I would have preferred discreet covers because they are actually really pretty, but it is what it is. So Madison Kate is our FMC, and she was sent away after a night when she was quite literally at the wrong place at the wrong time. She was at a fighting match where she wasn't really allowed to be by her father, and someone is shot and killed, and Madison Kate runs from the place, and then she's picked up by a police cruiser, is that what it's called? A police car, who basically says that she is the murderer. She's like framed for murder, and she thinks she knows the people who did it because she ran into them that night, and she was wearing one of their jackets when she was taken by the police. She is sent away by her father, who's like a really important man in this town. The book starts when she comes back to find out that the 3 men who she met that night who set her up for this murder are now living in her house. And at the same time, Madison Kate starts getting little gifts left to her from someone who she doesn't know it is. And that's kind of the blurb of the Madison Kate series. This is definitely a slow burn reverse harem, and it's also like a mystery murder solving. There's also gangs, so there's tension between the gangs, and some of them might be involved in what's happening and some of them might not, and we don't really know, and it's just it's really good. Next up we have something that might be a little bit lighter but at the same time not, and that is a small town romance, which is Indigo Ridge. And I would say the entire Eden series gives fall vibes. The second book is my favorite, but the first book definitely got me hooked. The first book is definitely the darkest because we have our FMC, who is a policeman or like detective, and she moves to a new office which is in the town that this story plays out with. And there has been a bunch of murders throughout the years happening that have gone unresolved because they don't think they are murders, they think they are suicides. But she quite quickly figures out that something is off about these suicides, and she starts delving into this. And then she also meets a guy who is not so happy that she is there and that she is dragging all of this past up, and things just happen from there. Next we have a book that isn't a mystery. Like, there's kind of a tiny mystery aspect, but this is definitely not as gory, but it's not light either, and that is The Simple Wild. And there's a video of me on my book talk somewhere in the past where I am bawling my eyes out about something in this book, which I still can't think about without tearing up. So this is definitely a painful read. Like, if you want to cry, pick this book up. So our FMC is living, I think, with her mother and her stepfather, and she gets a call from a woman who tells her that she needs to come to Alaska and meet her dad, who she has met him before, but he's very distant. Her parents got divorced when she was young. There's a bunch of drama that happened between her parents that she doesn't necessarily know about, and her dad has never been a big part of her life, so she doesn't really want to go. But then in the end she does go because she feels like she needs to, if not for his sake, then for her own sake. And his neighbor, who also happens to work for her father's airplane company that he owns, because in Alaska everything's like so spread out that they like fly supplies and medicine and doctors to these little villages or small towns that can't necessarily get to them quick enough by road, for example. So it's a very important job that her dad has always had, and this guy has now kind of taken over for her dad, and he also lives next door to them. And there's a raccoon in this. That's also kind of a fun, light aspect of this. But she gets to this small town and kind of has to live with a man who's her father, but she has never known. And then there's also this grumpy neighbor who for some reason despises her, even though he's never known her, but he's very close to her dad. And the story continues from there. Next up we have, I wouldn't necessarily class this as a mystery, it's more of a romance with a magical aspect, but it's again by one of my favorite authors, and that is Ashley Poston's The Dead Romantic. This is the perfect autumn vibes. Like, the romance in this, unmatched. The magical elements, I love it. So our FMC sees ghosts. Her dad has died, so she has to leave where she lives and go back home, a place where she hasn't been since she was very young, because she got out of that town quickly because she's very odd and she doesn't normally tell people that she can see ghosts. Her dad had the same ability and he kind of always wanted her to embrace it, but after having done so and something went wrong, she ran from it instead. When she's in this town, someone she knows shows up as a ghost. And then things happen from there. Next book I would class as a mystery, but like a mystery romance, and that is Nightshade by Autumn Woods. And I read this very recently and I devoured it. The MMC has a slutty little knee tattoo. And that's like, I could sell you this book just based on that aspect. But we have our FMC who's going to this school who she was like always warned away from to get revenge for her parents, I think, or maybe just her dad. No, her parents. Something happened at that school that led to their deaths and she knows who's responsible. But then, well, while she's at this school, she meets the man who is the son of the man who killed her parents. And things kind of escalate from there. Like, this is Gothic university in Scotland. Just the ultimate fall vibes. It plays out in the Scottish Highlands in like an old castle, and there's a murder mystery, tension-filled, forbidden romance kind of, because does she want revenge more than she wants this sexy man? Then we have another Tate James recommendation, and that is her latest series, Dear Reader. The third book comes out in a couple of weeks. I read the first book, absolutely devoured it. Read the second book, absolutely devoured it, and now I can't sleep until I have the third book, because what the fuck. Tate James always leaves you on a cliffhanger that just forces you to pick up the next book. This is also a reverse harem, but again, it's a slow burn reverse harem. So if you want to get into reverse harems where the romance definitely plays a big part, but it's not overwhelming and it's not too fast, then Tate James is definitely good books to start with, because there's so much going on around the romance that the reverse harem isn't the main focus. But it's definitely an aspect that fills the book with tension. But since it's a slow burn reverse harem, you kind of slowly go into the idea of having more than one partner in a relationship at the same time. She's not rich. Her mother, however, has recently married a rich man, and she, through them, gets a scholarship to go to Nivahe University. But this comes with some complications. Her stepbrother, new stepbrother, who does not like her, and his 3 spoiled friends. There's kids outside. I don't know if you can hear them, but they are screaming. And his 3 friends, who also kind of doesn't like her for some reason. She decides to put her future first and not let them scare her away from going to this really prestigious university. But there is a secret society that she is then thrown into, and she also finds a woman's diary who was once a part of this secret society, and she has written down things that they have done that could get someone into a lot of trouble if it became public knowledge. And then things just happen from there. This is quite dark. This definitely has a mystery aspect, and like, again, like with Madison Cates, a darker kind of stalker aspect, because I couldn't for the life of me figure out what was going to happen in this book, where this was going to go, because it's definitely not what you think. But it's also absolutely incredible, and it just gets you hooked because you just need to find out what happens. And then we have the OG mystery book, like one of the best mystery books ever, and that is The Inheritance Games. Now this is definitely slightly lower stakes because it's YA, but it's also kind of high stakes for being YA. But we have our FMC, whose name is Avery, who whose mother has passed away, and she is like faking her mother's signature to stay in school and not get put into like a foster care system because she's not yet 18. And one day she's called to the principal's office, and there is a young, very handsome man in a suit, or like boy, because they're about the same age. He's a couple years older than her. And he tells her that she has come into a lot of money. And when I say a lot, I mean like she's suddenly become one of the richest people in the world. Because this boy's grandfather, whom she has never met, she has never met any of these people, he has left her his entire fortune. And she's suddenly thrown into his like massive mansion, which she now owns, where his entire family lives. And they of course aren't very happy that this stranger has been given like everything this incredibly rich man had. And there are a lot of puzzles and games and tension, and there's also a love triangle, and it's just absolutely incredible. Last pile but not least, and my battery is dying so we're gonna have to do this fast, is my Academy fall pile. We're gonna start off with Zodiac Academy. It's in the name, but this is shapeshifters, amazing magic, mysteries, tension, banter, a bully romance, a teacher-student romance. We have the POV of two twins who are living in the human world, but they then find out that they are the heirs to the celestial Solaria throne, which is like a parallel world to the human world, and they find out that they have magical abilities, and they are also then put into like contest with the 4 heirs who were to like inherit the throne, because everyone believed that these 2 princesses were dead. But it turns out they aren't, but then they don't know who tried to make it seem like they are dead, because their parents were murdered by magical creatures who are really dangerous. But there's something off about that, and things happen, and this is so good. I know that some people don't like the writing style, some people don't like it, but I have never laughed out loud so much to a book as I have to the Zodiac Academy series. I have never giggled and kicked my feet because it's the biggest slow burn ever. The romance in this has you by the throat. Like, it chokes you out in the best way possible. And then there's also just like the mystery and the found family and the magic systems, and it's just, it has everything. I am obsessed with this. It is also like one of the biggest emotional roller coasters that you will ever go on, because I've never cried and screamed and been angry and been happy, and just it makes you feel all the emotions. And if you go into that and then like the Zodiac Academy world, we have a series by the same authors who plays out before Zodiac Academy, but at a university in the same world, but a different university in that world, and that is Dark Fae, which is the Ruthless Boys series. I love this just as much as I love the Zodiac Academy series. There is a reading order which I would recommend, where you read a couple of Zodiac Academy books first and then go into the series and then continue the Zodiac Academy series, because some of these characters show up in the later Zodiac Academy books, and if you want the full experience, you should follow that reading order because it's amazing. This is a reverse harem, Zodiac Academy is not. This has a murder mystery aspect. So we have our main FMC whose brother goes missing or was murdered. I can't remember the preciseness of that, but I think he was murdered because of a drug that he was kind of pulled into selling and into this bad group of people. So she goes to this university, or like academy, it's more an academy, to find the people who did this to her brother and to put a stop to them. And her 4 great biggest like suspects, they also maybe happen to be the MMCs. It's so good. She's a vampire, she is so funny and snarky and sassy, and these 4 MMCs, they are so different from each other, but they are also hilarious, and they are also different kinds of shapeshifters, and one of them is a really unique shapeshifter. And what I love about this is that we get a closer look at some of the shapeshifters that we don't get to see as much of in the Zodiac Academy universe. Like, the shapeshifters exist, of course, but we get a closer look at some of them in this, and it's also a gang rival war, because 2 of these MMCs are the leaders of 2 different gangs who are rivals, and that causes another aspect of tension that is really intriguing. I know that was a lot, but I do definitely think that there was something in here for each and every one of you, because it was a lot. But those were my autumn recs, and some of them I definitely need a reread of because it's been years, or it hasn't been that long, but I just am obsessed with them and want to reread them. That was that for this video. If you've gotten this far, thank you so much for watching and listening to my ramblings about autumn vibe books that I love. And as always, have a nice day, a nice week, a nice month. See you hopefully in the next one. Bye!